Hey friend, welcome to Grounded, the vestibular podcast. I'm Dr. Madison Oak, aka the Vertigo Doctor. I am the vestibular physical therapist who is here to help you with all things dizziness, imbalance, and vertigo. In this podcast, we explore the fascinating world of vestibular disorders. Come with me as we dive into the journey to discover the mysteries of dizziness, the brain, inner ear, and the balance mechanisms that keep us grounded. Whether you've been managing your dizziness for one day or for 25 years, we are going to get real about what it takes to manage dizziness, handle the anxiety cycle, and thrive, not just survive, with your vestibular disorder. First, I want to remind you that this is never medical advice. Remember, this podcast is for informational purposes only and may or may not be the best fit for you and your personal situation. It shall not be construed as medical advice. The information and education provided here is not intended or implied to supplement or replace professional medical treatment, advice, and/or diagnosis. Always check with your own physician, medical professionals, and healthcare team before trying or implementing any information found here. Meet me in your coziest chair while we navigate the highs and lows and the twists and turns of the vestibular universe. Welcome to Grounded. Let's dive in. Hi, welcome back to another episode of Grounded, the vestibular podcast. Today, I was on my email and I thought of this maybe bizarre comparison of vestibular disorders to something that happens to me at work. And sometimes something a little bit concrete I find is more helpful than the abstract nature of dizziness and everything that comes with dizziness, and especially chronic disorders like our 3PD, vestibular migraine, Meniere's disease, things like that. And so I wanted to give you 3 quick tips today. This is not going to be the longest episode by any means, about asking why and enjoying the time where you might not feel dizzy without saying, when is it going to happen again? Because what happened to me at work today is nothing like being dizzy. And I really want to say that up front, that what happened at work is not even close to being chronically dizzy, but I think the sentiment is really similar. So I get really stressed out by my email inbox, like unnervingly so. This is a new thing for me that it's been causing like so much panic, frankly. And every time I open my inbox, there are, I'm not kidding you, between 70 and 100 emails a day that I'm replying to. Some of them are spam, some of them are not. That's okay. Doesn't matter. It is close to never inbox at 0. Like literally never. And that gives me like a lot of discomfort. And today, I got my inbox down to 0. Now, I have an assistant, has worked for me full time. I recently just actually had to get a new one, who is working for me. And she also works for my partner. And she helps me to manage my email. But I've had email help since about May of this year with one of 2 different assistants that I've kind of been working with. And when this happened, it really brought down a lot of the anxiety. But what happens is I look at my inbox and I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe this is back. I'm so frustrated. I am so anxious. I am so panicked. I can't believe I have to reply to this many emails. Oh my God, I'm going to flip out. Then I start to reply to them and I do something about it and I feel a little bit better. But there are always some that I have to leave unread for whatever reason. I need to do it later, or I need a different answer or something. So it's never at 0. But just now, it hit 0. And instead of being like, oh my God, I know it's going to happen again in the future. I just did something about this, but it's going to happen again. I'm going to get 100 more emails tomorrow. In fact, I'm taking this weekend off and I have a vacation reminder set on my computer. And I know for a fact that when I get back on Monday, it's going to be a lot of emails, even with this new assistant doing the best that they possibly can. So I think this is really similar to dizziness. And especially when we know that we're going to have more attacks. So if you live with something like Meniere's disease or vestibular migraine, for example, these really chronic conditions, we all know for a fact that this is going to have I'm going to have an attack again, right? If I have vestibular migraine, Even if I'm not having an attack right now, I'm probably going to have another one in the future. And that can be really daunting, really, really frustrating, super irritating, and it can cause a lot of hypervigilance. So a lot of like checking in with yourself. Is this going to make me dizzy? If I do this, is it going to make me dizzy? Is it going to do that? Is it going to make me dizzy? And on the chance where you're like, oh my God, I'm actually feeling pretty good today. This is awesome. I'm super happy about this. A lot of times we're so busy checking in with ourselves, with my patient selves, my client selves. They're like, I'm so busy checking in that I can't actually enjoy the time. And I think that we need to make an active effort when we're feeling less symptomatic or not symptomatic, whatever that looks like to you, when you're having what you would consider a good day. I want you to consider these three things. So first of all, enjoying the time with fewer symptoms or without symptoms. And I know that this is not always possible. I know that this is so, so hard. But rather than saying, oh my God, the symptom's sort of gone, I have less rocking and swaying today. That's awesome. We say, I have less rocking and swaying today. When is it going to come back? If I go on a walk, is it going to come back? If I sit here, is it going to come back? If I go to work, is it going to come back? If I do this, do that, do this, do that over and over and over again in our head. And then instead of enjoying the time, or maybe not even enjoying, but using the time or something like that, we end up back in the symptom because we keep asking ourselves, when is this going to come back? So my next tip, which is kind of part of number one, is doing your best not to ask, when is it coming back? Is this going to cause it over and over again 1,000 times in our head? And I know that this is so, so hard. But speaking from experience of seeing literally thousands of patients, I can tell you that clinically, I find that the patients who say, I'm going to make the active effort to even one time, next time I feel a little bit dizzy, not do the forever questioning thing, end up with fewer and fewer and fewer symptoms over time and intention than those who have a tendency to say, when is it coming back? 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 And of course, this is so much more than just listening to me talk about this on a podcast or on YouTube or wherever you're listening to this. This takes a lot of time and a lot of intention and a lot of neuroplasticity. But dizziness is partially neuroplastic, so partially learned, and it's also part of a disease process, right? So vestibular migraine, for example, is a disease process that's happening in your body either all the time or, well, it's happening all the time because it's a neurological disease that's in your brain. But it's not always causing symptoms. For some people, it is always causing symptoms, but not for everyone. And so that can be really frustrating because then you're like, well, when it does come back, what am I supposed to do? I have been told by so many doctors that this is something I just have to live with. And I am just frustrated with the fact about that. And first of all, I want to remind everyone that this is not something you just have to live with. There's a lot of management techniques that we can do for dizziness that are super, super, super helpful. But the third tip is to have a plan of attack when you know you're going to get dizzy. So even if you're like, today is Tuesday and I don't know if I'm going to get dizzy today, having a plan that says, okay, when I get dizzy, this is what I do. When I have a vestibular migraine attack, this is what I do. And I'm going to give you some tools. So the first one, if you have a vestibular disorder, no matter what it is, you need a specialist. And those specialists are people like vestibular physical therapists, your neuro-otologists, that's a neurologist that specializes in the inner ear, some ENTs, some neurologists, and headache specialists if you have vestibular migraine, even without head pain. Headache specialist should be on your team. I have a code for one I really like. It is neurahealth.co, code Vertigo Doctor 15 in all caps, and that will give you a discount on your appointment with them. They're excellent. I trust them. I love them. Definitely go see them if you think you might have vestibular migraine. But having these people on your team in order to give you techniques is going to be really helpful. So having medications, if medications are on your list of things that work for you, both preventative and rescue and an abortive medication. So something that is going to help get rid of that attack. And then a rescue medication would be something that reduces the symptoms. So For instance, a rescue would be something like meclizine. If meclizine works for you, I know it does not work for everyone. And then an abortive would be something like Nurtec as a acute medication. And then a preventative would be something like a blood pressure medication, or maybe an SSRI, or maybe a different CGRP medication. So all of those classes of like migraine medications, for instance, and they're going to be different depending on your specific condition and needs. And then having also other lifestyle and treatment options. So we're talking magnesium, ginger. We are talking about essential oils, heat packs, cold packs, ice packs, water bottles, electrolytes, magnesium, drink stuff. All of these things can be in a toolkit for you to use depending on your symptom. And I do not recommend carrying around a suitcase with you everywhere. It's probably not going to be the most effective solution, but over time, you will develop things that work for you, whether they are Avalux glasses, which I also have a code for. It is Vertigo Doc. DOC. And those are awesome glasses options. They feel like a blanket for your eyes. They're fantastic. I love them. I recommend them to everyone with a vestibular disorder, concussion, vestibular migraine, what have you. And then I also recommend having loops earplugs, which I do not have a code for, but I love them. I am not affiliated with them, but those are the ones I recommend the most. They have a couple of different kinds on Amazon. You can go read about them. And they are so helpful and honestly fantastic at blocking out noise that's like ambient noise, so you can talk to a person one-on-one. So having a plan of attack of, I have a vestibular migraine attack and this is what I do, or I have a Meniere's disease attack, this is what I do. I'm having a flare of symptoms for 3PD. I do breathing, grounding, meditation. I tell myself I'm safe. I do something cozy. I do something my body likes. Working in this fashion is going to be incredibly helpful, because then when you have an attack, because for most people, it's not if I have an attack, it's when. It matters less why this happened and more, what am I going to do to support my body? Why something changed or why something happened is significantly less important than what am I going to do about it right now? And sitting and asking ourselves, why did this happen? Did I eat a trigger food? Did the weather change? Did I don't know, not exercise enough? Did I exercise too much? Did I have not enough water? Did I not eat on time? Did I do this? It is not your fault. Dizziness is never your fault. Having a vestibular attack is never your fault. And it is frustrating to have to say, okay, well, why do I have to deal with this? But it is also really, really empowering to say, this is happening to me. I don't love that this is happening, but I'm acknowledging that it is. And I'm going to support my body to help me in what I need. And I know this has nothing to do with emails, but that's what made me think of this. Enjoy the time that you have fewer symptoms. Don't overdo it, because that will potentially throw you over your energy threshold. But do try to say, okay, this is happening. I'm really frustrated about it, but this is what I am going to do about my symptoms. And that is a very freeing and very empowering thing. And if you do not have those tools yet, that is okay. They are on the way to you. I am sure of that. You are listening to this podcast. You are gaining tools. You are gaining things to do. And it is so, so helpful and empowering once you do have those tools. Even if it's one tool, even if it's 10 tools, even if it doesn't feel like enough stuff, doing something to support your body in that moment is going to reduce central sensitization, which causes more symptoms in the future, which is something we can talk about later, but really important to go about it this way. Thank you so much for listening to this kind of quick episode of Grounded with me. Let's take a big, deep breath together in through your nose. Hold out through your mouth so you can hear it like wind through the trees. Hold and breathe normally. Thank you so much for listening. I will see you next week. Thank you so much for listening today. I'm really excited for this podcast. If you would like to find me on Instagram, give me a follow at the Vertigo Doctor and the podcast at grounded.vestibular.pod. Remember to rate, review, and subscribe to our channel. And if you're interested in working with me, try Vestibular Group Fit, the affordable, comprehensive program that focuses on movement, mindset, support, and education to take you from feeling frustrated and dizzy to feeling in control of your vestibular disorder. Or we can work together one-on-one in California, Virginia, Maryland, Minnesota, New Jersey, New York, Wyoming, and Wisconsin. Your success story begins today. Dizziness does not have to be forever. Let's get you the right tools to thrive. I love you, and I'll see you next time on Grounded.